Masechta Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadik Hey Amud Aleph. We're starting from Tzadik Dalet Amud Beis. We're starting from around 10, 11 lines from the bottom where it says, "Ve'usav shlalchem oisef hechosil." So the Gemara is now mavaya another drasha on the pasuk that's nageya to the mapolas, the downfall of Sanhedrin. It says, "Ve'usav shlalchem oisef hechosil." Your spoils shall be gathered like the gathering of the grasshoppers. Navi said to Yisrael, Isu shlalchem, gather your spoils from the camp of Ashur, because they all killed. So they replied to him, Lachlik, is it to just grab as much for yourself, or is it to divide it? So Abnalahem, Ishayo said, just like by the grasshoppers, they take for themselves, each one zeicha for himself in the whatever he gathered, or he says just like by grasshoppers, whoever wants to be married in the grasshoppers, that he gathered for himself as much as he wants, he can marry it. And you don't have to each one to grab for himself, and he doesn't have to divide it with everybody. So the Yidden said back to Yeshaya, the army of Ashur conquered the Sedes Shvatim. So how could we take it for ourselves? It's Gezel. Kimashak gave him Sheikik Bay. So he used the pasuk that like the running of the water into the pools. So that the water that goes in so too Ma gave Mahalol Mailin as Adam Tuminu Latara, just like the rushing water of these pools that go into these pools makes the person from Tumah Tatara, he transforms him to Tatara. So too the money of the Asedes Hashmatim that fell into the Melech Ashur, Miyad Tia, it immediately became cleansed of any Issa, because it's no more looked as the money of the Asedes Hashmatim. Rather, we look at it; it belongs to Melech Ashur, and we're taking from Melech Ashur. So the Gemara. Miyati, so Adamar Papa, and this follows the sheet of our Papa. Amun Umayav, Tir of Sichain, the property of Amun Umayav, was cleansed by Sichain. Even though Amun Umayav, you're not allowed to touch their spoils. It says we shouldn't have any handoff from them. But since Sichain took them over and we took over Sichain, therefore the properties were no more considered as Amun Umayav, because Sichain had taken over. Amun Avhuna, and I'll say over here. Melech Ashur took over the Asedes Hashvatim, the spoils from Asedes Hashvatim. So we don't look at it as the Asedes Hashvatim have any balabatishkeit in these spoils. This Sanhedrin traveled 10 places. Like it says in the pasuk, Baal Ayis, Sanhedrin came to Ayis, over Migraine. And he went through Migraine, Michmash Yafkin Kela, and he's placing his tools in Michmash over Ma'abara. They passed or they crossed Ma'abara. They slept over at Geba. Harama. Rama was shaken by earthquakes. Gibashol Nasa. The Gibashol has fled. Tzali Koiler Pasgalim Hakshiva Elisha, cry out Pasgalim. And then it says Hakshiva hearken or listen Elisha, O Layish, Ani Anasis, O you poor Anasis. Not the Madmena. And Madmena has wandered away. Yeshrei Heizu, the inhabitants of Givim, gave him, have gathered together. This very day he intends to stand in Neif Harbasi and give us Yerushalayim, waving his hands at the mount of Bastion, the hill of Yerushalayim. In fact, this is more than 10. There's 12. And the Gemara Tzali Koile Basgalim, these words of Tzali Koile Basgalim, cry out, Basgalim, were said by the Navi Yeshaya on his own. He said it on his own to the Bnei Yisrael. That is, Yeshaya didn't mean these words to represent any particular place. That Sanhedrin was destined to conquer. Tzali Koile Basgalim is going on Knesset Yisrael. Cry out Basgalim, literally the Bas Tzien, the Yidden Bita Shal Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov. Cry out the Gemeinde, the congregation of Yisrael, the daughters of Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Shas Mitzvah Galayam, who performed the mitzvahs just like the waves of the sea. So it's not a location that he took over. Elisha, it says, Harkin Olayish. Also there, he wasn't referring to a place that would be conquered by Sanhedrin. Mahai Leitistafi. Do not be afraid of this one. That's what it means, actually, Elisha. For his the threat will pass, the threat of Sanhedrin. But be afraid of Nebuchadnezzar, who's compared in the Torah to a lion. The pasuk says that a lion has risen from his thicket, or mesubchai. That from his thicket. By. So what's the piddush of the end of this pasuk when it says Ani Anoseis? That he says, "Oh, you poor Anoseis." That us Yimyo ben Chilkiyo is not Allah Anoseis. It meant that Yimyo, the son of Chilkiyo, is going to say nevuah from the town Anoseis concerning the downfall of Yehuda and Yerushalayim. It's written the words Yimyo, the son of Chilkiyo, min hakohanim asher ba'anos be'eretz Binyamin, of the Kahanim who were in Anasis in the land of Binyamin. So these three places mentioned by Yeshaya were not meant as places that the Sanhedrin will conquer. Rather, it had a different meaning. It was said on his own. In fact, you want to be dummy. Hasamari hachalayish. In fact, are they the same? We're talking about the Bayim is Nevuah. The one that's going to invade is referred to Ari, whereas here in Yeshaya, the Nevuah is referred to Elias. Rabbi Yechon said there are 6 names for a lion. And these are they, Ari, Kvir, Lavi, Elias, and Shachal Shachatz. So you see, Befedish, that Elias is one of them. In fact, if so, if Tzali Koilech Basgalim is not one of the names in which Sanhedrin conquered, Batzluhu, then you have less than 10 Masois that the Russia conquered. There was only 9. When it says Over Ma'abara, that's 2. It's 2 separate places. Since we finished with the 10 Masois of Sanhedrin gave him, so now we'll explain Noiv, which talks about. We're going to explain the story with Noiv. What's the story there? What's the drasha there? What is the shot that this very day Sanhedrin intends to stand in Noiv? That day was left for Sanhedrin to be successful in killing the people in Yerushalayim because of Noiv. His stargazer said, if you're going to go today, you're going to be successful. If you don't go today, you're not going to be successful. The path that normally takes, or the path that normally takes 10 days to reach to Yerushalayim, when Sanhedrin heard it, immediately he did it in 1 day. When he came outside of Yerushalayim, Sanhedrin placed a whole bunch of rugs. He piled them up. Till Sanhedrin went on top of all the rugs, and he was higher than the wall of Yerushalayim. Till he saw the whole Yerushalayim. When he saw it, it seemed very small in his eyes. Is this the city of Yishalayim? See that because of it I gathered all my camps to fight it. And because of that I conquered a whole bunch of Medinas just to get to Yerushalayim. Behold, this is small and weak. From all this is all the countries that I conquered with my mighty hand. All of it come. He got up from his place that he was sitting, and he waved his head in disappointment. And he also waved his hands against the Harabayis that was in Tzion, meaning the Beis Hamikdash that was in Tzion, and also in the Hazara, the Yerushalayim that was in Yerushalayim. Amru. So the Sari Hatzava said, the head general said, let's go and attack it now. Amru Sanhedrin said, Tamhisu. I'm wondering, you went through such a journey, you're not tired, and you still want to go? That's what he was wondering. Tamhisu, he says, look, you guys are tired, stay overnight. Tomorrow I'll bring each one of you, and you'll take a piece, a brick, from the wall of the city, and that's how we'll take apart the city. We don't even have to fight. Each person we're so many here that we could take apart the whole city by each one just taking a brick. Immediately that night when they all went to sleep, Malach came out, he killed out 185,000. Got him Mason, and when they got up, all of the some that got up saw, everybody's dead. This is what people say. If you let the din go overnight, the din gets nisvatal. The tviya that they had against Yerushalayim ended. It was that day, and you snooze, you lose. They had that day. He said, "Let's go overnight." And once you delay the din, it doesn't happen. It says those that the dwellers of the Nev Harafa that were from the Yesha of Nev, and one of them was the children. Yishbi of Nev was one of the children of Orpa. And the weight of his spearhead, which was his new armor that he got, was 300 shekel of brass. And he was girdled with new armor. Says David, and he declared that he wants to kill David. But Avisha, the son of Surya, came out and helped him. What was the meaning of a Yeshua? The person who came because of the story of the massacre that happened in Noiv. HaKadosh Baruch said to David, how long will this sin remain hidden in your hand? And through you, the city of Noiv, all the people of Noiv were massacred. Because what happened? David HaMelech told Achimelech, who was the Kohen Gadol there, he told him that he's on a private mission from Shaul, and he needs food, he needs armor, because he didn't come with anything, because it's supposed to be a hidden mission. Achimelech gave him everything. And over there was Dayek. Dayek thought that Achimelech was plotting against the Shaul, and he's helping David. And he told this over to Shaul HaMelech. And Shaul HaMelech had everyone killed. I mean, yes, Avnei Ma'amasa, we learned before, and Avnei Ma'amasa refused to do it. So he told Dayek to do it because Dayek had opportunity to get up in a high position, and he went and he killed out the 85 Kahanim and everybody in the city, from all the children, except Aviasa Kohen. And it says it was through you that Dayek Hademi who lost the Eilam Haba, and it was through you that Shaul HaMelech and his 3 sons were killed. What is your choice of punishments? I'm going to give you a choice. Either your descendants should be obliterated or killed, or you yourself to be delivered to the enemy hands. He said, better that I be delivered in the enemy's hand and the children should not be obliterated. One day, he went out hunting. Also, and the Satan appeared in a disguise as a deer. David shot an arrow and it fell short. It didn't hit it. And it lured him, and the deer drew him further and further into fill out the until he reached the land of the Plishtim. When Yishbi Benoiv saw him, that was the son of Erpah, who was the brother of Goliath. This is the man who killed my brother Goliath. So the Yishbi right away tied up David, doubled him over, and he threw him under the olive press to crush him. The Abishta made a miracle. The Abishta made that the sand, the earth under the olive press should be softened so he doesn't get crushed by the olive press. I know this is what it says in the pasuk. Listen, until you made that my steps should be wider, my ankles didn't give in, they weren't crushed, meaning from this thing. It was this day. It was this day that this happened. It was out of Shabbos towards evening. Avish Metzuri have a koi fresh. Avish Metzuri was shampooing his hair with 4 measures of water. He saw that there's blood stains in the water. He saw that a dove flapping its wings till feathers were coming off frantically. So right away he said, Knesset Yisrael, the Knesset Yisrael is compared to a dove. Like it says in the pasuk, that you will be like the wings of a dove covered with silver. So he understood Am Yisrael is fine, so it has to be the leader. The blood was a sign, or the dove was a sign. So it has to be the leader. Aslabay say, because the Am Yisrael looked fine. Aslabay say he went to the house of David, he didn't find David. Now he doesn't know what to do. He has to find a car ride, a horse. And there was a mule by David's house. He said, we learned in the Mishnah, you're not allowed to ride on the king's horse nor sit on his throne. You're not allowed to use his scepter. What's going to be in the time of Sakana? He went to the Bismedish and asked the Shai. They said, Shaper dummy. During a Sakana, it's fine. Avishai mounted David's mule and rode off. The ground miraculously contracted under him, and he had kvitz zadera. As Avishai was riding, he saw Arpa, the mother of Yishbi B'nai. The Havas Navla. She was spinning thread. When she saw Avishai, she broke she cut the thread. And she threw the spindle, which was sharp, hoping to sub the Miktulei. She thought to kill him. So Avishai said, and she said to Avishai, Alam, young man, Isley block. She made herself like it fell out of her hand, which was for sure, he knew that he was trying to kill her. He threw this spindle, he's close to her at the top of her head, and he killed her. He stuck it in her head. When Yishbi B'nai saw Avishai approaching him, he said to himself, now there'll be 2 against me, and they're going to kill me. So Paskil David Leila, he wanted to show off his strength, so he threw up David in the air with dots, and he planted a spear below. Look, he wanted to show off for everybody. I'm going to throw him up, and he's going to fall on the spear, and he'll die. Avishai said, the Shem Amferish. So David was suspended in the air between the Shamayim and the earth, right on top of the spear, but it He wasn't going on it. The name of Il. David himself should have pronounced it. Says, you want to know. Somebody who's in jail cannot release his own self from prison. He needs somebody else to help him. That's why he needed Avisha to help him. My boy Sacha. He asked him, what are you doing over here? So he tells him the whole story. He says, Hashem told him, look, you have a sin, you have a choice, either give yourself up to the enemy and let yourself be killed, or let your descendants get killed, obliterated. And he told him no, and he told Hashkadosh Baruch Hu no. Avishai said, reverse your davening and don't allow yourself to get killed because of your children. Let your grandson sell wax. Be a poor person. As long as you don't suffer yourself. Why should you suffer and your children should take your money? Better you hold on to the money and let your children suffer and sell the wax. Amalei says, you want to Yachi, so Saya Bahador. So David Amalei says, help me with this davening. And this is what's written, Taka, and Avishai, the son of Tsuya, helped David. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amarav, Shazar B'Tfilah. Rabbi Yehuda Amarav said that Avishai helped David in davening to reverse the answer that he told Hashem and forget that he should live. Amar Avishai Shem V'Achtei. Avishai said again the name of the Shem Amfeish, and he was put on the ground, and further away from Neiv Yishai. I'm sorry, further away Neiv Yishbi. Haba Karadu Batsayu. Yishbi Benoiv pursued them, Kimata Kubi, when Avishai came to Kubi, Kumbei, which is also a simon for that they said to each other, let us take a stand and fight him. But when they reached a place called Beitrei, they realized that he betrayed Gurion Katlu La'arya. He says, could two puppies kill a lion? We're not going to stand a chance. Amalei. So they came up with a plan. Yishbin said, Zilish Taka La'arba Imer Bikibra. He says, go find your mother Arpa in the grave. Go go take care of her. I killed her. In the moment he mentioned the mother's name, his strength got a little weak. In that moment they killed him. I don't see if this is what it says. Then David's soldiers swore to him, saying, you can no more go out with us to war, because you're because of this story, you're vulnerable. Because we need the light of your soul not to be extinguished, because David HaMelech was learning Torah the whole time. So three people had Kvitza Derech. The first one, Eliezer Eved Avram, Yaakov Avinu, Avish ben Tzuya. Says Avish ben Tzuya, who the Hadar Amarim? Avish ben Tzuya. We just spoke about how he had Kvitza Derech to come to David's aid. Eliezer Eved Avram Nechsiv, Eliezer, the servant of Avram, who came to look for Yitzchak, Kala. So he told him, I came today to the spring. That means he came to Canaan from Haran in one day. Should we say he came from Canaan to Aram Naharaim? And so that was the same day. Which implies that he departed Canaan and arrived in Aram that same day. Yaakov Avinu. What do we see by Yaakov Avinu? So it says by Yaakov Avinu Azay. Vayitze Yaakov Be'eshava Ve'yelech Yaakov departed from Be'eshava and he went to Charan Uksiv, and then it says Vayivgav Malkam Ayol Sham Kiva Hashemesh, and he counted base kale and slept there overnight. So these psukim can seem to contradict. He was in Charan. How could he be in base kale that night? So when he reached Charan, he said, is it possible that I passed the place where my fathers had davened in Beis Kel, which in the Rashi says it's Yerushalayim, by the Kaisel, meaning in the place where the Beis Hamikdash is, and I didn't pray from there for myself. I have to go back to Beis Kel. So he was determined to return to Eretz Yisrael and daven in Beis Kel. As soon as he mentally thought about returning there, right away, he had to quit Saderech, and he was there. And this is confirmed by the pasuk. Immediately after Yaakov reached Haran, the pasuk says he encountered the Beis Kel. So we find that there was Kitzad Derech. The Vachanal Pshat is on the word Vayivka in Pigia El Tefillah. It means davening. And that it says, Shanam Va'ata Al Tispal Ba'ad Homazeh. David told him, do not daven for this nation. Al Tisba Adam Rino Utfila. Do not raise any cry or prayer or tefillah on their behalf. Al Tikabi, and do not entreat me with davening, because the only way that they're going to be forgiven is by them changing and then stop sinning in Yerushalayim. They thought that they have the Shechina, the Beis Hamikdash, so that nothing will happen. And David says, "Befesh, will." They have to change and don't daven on their behalf. David told him, it says now Yaakov slept because the sun set immediately, premature. After he davened, he wanted to return to Haran. David said, "Tzadik this Tzadik Yaakov who came to my hotel should depart without staying overnight." Immediately the sun went down. And this is also the meaning when it says that the sun rose early, prematurely. This was the story with Peniel. Peniel, that the Malach dislocated Yaakov's thigh, and to heal him, the Eibishter made the sun come out prematurely. The same sun that he made go down prematurely. Only to him did the sun shine. The sun shone for everybody. And it says, the shemesh that went down prematurely is the shemesh that came out prematurely to heal him. How do we know that David's descendants were obliterated? It seemed like it says in the pasuk, Asalia, who was a Rishas, saw that her son was dead, and she always wanted to become king. She went and killed out the entire royal family just for her to become king, even though it was her family. But it's not true. But Yoash remained alive in David's dynasty, so it's not Midah Keneged Midah. Says it is. Hasam Nami Ishtay of Yasa did by the city of David when they killed out all the Kahanim. Of Yasa Kain was left alive. The Chesiv, like it says in the pasuk, ben Achitu v'Shmei of Yasa, one son of Achimelech, ben Achitu, and his name was Avyasa. So, Rabbi Yehuda Amarav, Yehuda said the name of Rabbi, if Avyasa wouldn't have remained alive, so there would not be any survivor that would remain for David's yichus, and the whole David dynasty would have been completely destroyed. Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Rabbi. Going back to the story with Sanchedav Harasha. Sanchedav Harasha came upon the Yidden with an army of 45,000 princes seated in golden chariots. And accompanied them was princesses and harlots, because he wanted to show even defenseless people will win this war. And he came down with an additional 80,000 mighty warriors with special garments, and 60,000 swordmen running before him, and the rest were horse riders. And so they came upon Avram, and so they're destined to come with Gog and Magog in the time of Mashiach. In the Brisa was taught, the length was so long, was 400 parseis, is 1,000 miles. But the width of all the animals, of all the horses, it was 40 pasoi. Sach machnayo masayim v'shishim ribui alafim chosa achad. It was 2.6 billion minus 1. Baya is the shayla. Chosa achad ribuya doesn't mean minus and one entire myriad. Oy chosa achad alpha, it means 1,000. Oy chosa meyo, it means minus 100. Oy chosa achad, or maybe it means only minus 1. Teiku. This is a blight takasha. Tana, we learned the first units of Ashur's army crossed the river to swim. Now, like it says in the Pasuk, it says it will sweep into Yehuda, overflowing and passing through. And the middle ones already didn't have to swim, because the ones that went first absorbed all the water. Like it says in the Pasuk, it will reach up to the next. But the last ones were walking on dry land. And they didn't find any water to drink until they brought water from another place and they drank. Like it says in the Pasuk, it was just I dug springs and drank water with soles of my feet. I caused all the rivers to dry up. In fact, the Gemara will accept, but in the scripture it's written, Malach, Hashem Hayakim Hamachna Ashur Meyo Shmenim Chamish Malav, and the Malach of Hashem went forth and slew 185,000 of the camp of Assyria, and they rose in the morning, and behold, they were all dead. So the pasuk shows that the troops numbered were much less than 2.6 billion. It shows it was only 185,000 men. These 180,000 mentioned by the pasuk were just the commanders of the groups. The entire army, however, was much larger. A precise reading of this pasuk also comes to the conclusion of that. What do we say that in the pasuk? That they were killed with mashman of rosin. It says that the leanness into the fat ones, bashminim the Yisbahu, the fat ones among the Sanhedrin's army, his commanders. So meaning that they got rid of the commanders of their armies, but it could mean together with a group. Ravina said, I'll bring you a raya, for it's written, Hashem went, sent a malach, who destroyed every warrior, commander, and officer in the army. And then Sanhedrin returned with Busha to his own land and came to his getchke, to the church over there, where his own offsprings fell because of him by sword. So in this pasuk it describes those killed by the malach as being officers, not common soldiers. From here you can conclude that the total troop count of Sanhedrin's armies was much more than 180,000 men. He come with what did the malach kill them? Rabbi Lezer says, he killed them. He struck them with his hand. For it says that the Yidden saw the great hand, which implies the Jews witnessed the splitting of the Yam. The same hand that did the splitting of the Yam is destined to punish Sanhedrin. He hit them with the finger. The sorcerer said to Pari, this is a finger of God, implying it's the same finger that was destined to punish Sanhedrin. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Gabriel, Magelcha netusha, is your sickle sharpened? Amalafanav, he replied, Rebbeinu Shalaylam, Nitusha, Behemet Mishesh Meyabeshes. It has been sharpened and ready since the sixth day of creation. Should never, like it says in the pasuk, Necharaves Nadaru. For it says, for indeed, the pasuk says they fled from the swords, from the sharpened sword. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says, that season was during which Sanhedrin's army, meaning they surrounded Yerushalayim, was a season when the fruits of Eretz Yisrael were ripened. When you go forth in the land to ripen the peiros, engage with the people of Ashurim in war. For it's written, when he passes through, he shall take you, meaning where he shall pass through the morning by day and by night. When this message is truly understood, it shall inspire tremendous terror. So it's referring to the destruction of Sanhedrin's army through Gavriel, because when Gavriel passed by in his daily rounds to ripen the fruits, he'll kill the army of Ashur. So this shows you that Sanhedrin's forces, the mighty forces we want to call them, were so vulnerable before Hashem that Malach Gavriel did not even need to confront them directly. Rather, what did he do? Gavriel did it like, as passing by. It was nothing. He didn't have to even work hard. Gavriel's actions are an example of the popular saying, Agav urchalabal devavach ishtama. As you happen to pass by, make your voice heard to your enemy. Going about the daily business, you pass the place where the enemies are, appear before them to make them to misht, disorient them. Some say Gavriel just breathed into their nostrils and they died. Like it says, when he blows upon them, they wither. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Kapayim safek lanu b'meisu. Gavriel clapped his hands and they died. Like it says, it says that I too will clap my hand upon the other hand, and I shall thereby put my anger to rest. Gavriel opened their ears, and they heard the heavenly song being sung by the Chayes, by the Malachim, and as a result they died. It's written, the nation scattered because of the reimemus, the exaltedness. So it's clear from Malachim Beis that at least a small remnant of Sanhedrin's army survived. So and so the Gemara now wants to determine precisely how many survived. How many survived? Like it says in the pasuk, Ushar eitz yaru mispayihu, and the remnant of the trees of his forest shall be few. Such that a child could write them down. A child can't write too much, but a yud, which is 10, you can write. How many letters could or numerical numbers could a child write down? Asara, 10, because it's a yud. A yud is very simple to write. Shmuel says Tisha, 9 soldiers. Like it says in the pasuk by Eileilois, and there shall be left a small lone grapes. Like one who cuts olives from a tree and leaves 2 or 3 lone clusters at the top of the highest branch. 4 or 5 in its branches. So he brings down here that these survivors will be as few as the olives that remain on the tree after it has been cut, harvested. Or in other words, 4 or 5 in its branches, like we said, or Shmos adds 4 and 5 reach to the, when it says 4 and 5, it reaches to the total of 9. Rabbi Shimon Levi Amar, Rabbi Shimon Levi says, Haba Asa, it was 14. Not like it says in the Pasuk Shnaim, Ushleisham, that meaning 14 soldiers survived. It says Shnaim, Ushleisha, Abba, Chamisha. 2, 3, 4, and 5. So altogether equals to 14. Five Assyrians survived. They were Sanhedrin and his 2 sons, as well as Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuzaradan. We'll stop there.